Yes, exactly. Hi. Thanks for pointing that out. Can you hear me now? Oh, better. Yeah, I looked at the mute button on the microphone, and then I saw, "Hey, I'm still muted. I should change that." No sound? Is that just you define a dollar, or is that me? But yeah, I think others are saying that it's fine now, so I guess it's fine. Overall fine. How is everyone? How are you all? How was your how was your week? You have such a delay? It's crazy. Mm, yeah. Here's a that's not that bad for me, at least. Um, Strange weekend. Hope that Prince Paradox, hope that's not related to us. Well, I know it kinda is. Um, New buildings, yes, that's cool. Much better this season than last season, so I'm glad to hear that. It's something that's going for some of you. Hmm. Yeah, I guess the change for the percentage in the Well of Wealth, that's done a bunch of wonders because, when we fixed the original, hang on, there's been that's a quote from back in my old enterprise days when I worked with the German Stock Exchange. We had a partner who had an issue in their software, And for us, that was clearly a bug. And um, we said, "Hey, look, guys, we think you have a bug in your system." And they said, "No, no, this is not a bug. It's an unwanted feature." So that stuck with me. It's been what, close to 20 years, maybe 17 years or so ever since. But the 5% thing in the Well of Wealth, right, which added an absolute kind of 5 percentage points to your likelihood of getting items, that did a lot of that had a massive impact, right? So when we then fixed that, or no, when we accidentally didn't have it in the Well of Wealth, this made all the difference last season. So, but then this is not what it was intended like. So that's what actually showed last season when we didn't have it in the Well of Wealth, because then everyone was complaining that they're getting way too few things from the chest, and that there's a reason for that, right? So, um, I would say the way it was implemented, that was an unwanted feature. Um, yes. Atomic Hub, massive fuck up. Sorry for language, but so a crucial part of the infrastructure that is needed to run Atomic Hub just, how do you say, evaporated. It's not fixable, right? We tried. We don't know how that happened, but we can't just like restart it or whatever, which is what we typically would do. Um, so now we have to set it up or reinitialize it, set it up from scratch, pretty much, not like whatever that means. But the problem is that there's quite a bunch of data that needs to be replicated. So this is taking, well, days, obviously, right? So we're trying to get this back up as soon as possible. How that happened, why that happened, why it happened to our node but not other nodes, we'll have to find that out after we've solved the current problem. We're working on it to get it back as soon as possible, obviously, because this is, I mean, not seeing your stuff in the inventory is uh, pathetic. It's ridiculous, right? But it's just the blockchain stuff. And if you want to replicate, if you have to replicate data, it's like a lot of data, right? Because it's the historic data. This is um, yeah, it's very very bad, but we're on it. Really sorry for that. Mm. It's the state history node. It's kind of a core infrastructure thing, yeah. Like core infrastructure for all the Rackspace NFT market. Um, I mean, you're always free to use NFT blocks, NFT Hive, right? Whenever something's not working, and vice versa, right? So we're friends with Hive and NFT blocks, so we don't mind if you use them, of course. But for us, it's like it's not a good look, obviously. We're like that's embarrassing that this is broken. At the same time, Atomic Hub is also quite a complex piece of software, so sometimes things might actually take a little longer. So we're really sorry for that. Um, but if something else in the meantime, until we fix that, works better for you, then I'm happy to support that actually. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much of that is going to be public, and like how much we'll actually be able to figure out post mortem, but we'll definitely share. Well, I like the mindset here more for is obviously for us it's bad, right? So that's not at all what we want, and it comes with, well, the legacy of it all, right? So when we acquired Atomic Hub, we did not know exactly what we're getting ourselves into, and part of that's part of what's been what's been there, right? And if you think back, Atomic Hub used to be run on Atomic Hub, yeah, Atomic Hub used to be run by a large team, right? And that's no excuse whatsoever. It's just that it used to be run by a large team with a lot of people watching that stuff. And if something broke, there were people like I don't know whether this would have could have happened with kind of in the old setup 2 years ago or whatever, might have still happened as well. I don't know, right? But it's definitely like we're now operating it with a much smaller team, so sometimes things take longer, and this is not great, but it is really bad. Um, I think it's a responsibility to share it as part of the blockchain and being a validator, don't you? Um, Sorry, there was a little bit of a noise. Um, Technically, no, because it's not Atomic Hub that's the validator, right? So this is not part of kind of the Spielworks infrastructure that is used to run the block producer, the validator, whatever you want to call them, guild officially. But yeah, we want to be as transparent about that. And obviously, we're getting a lot of questions from all of you, from other partners, from people in the Wax community. What's wrong? Why is this taking so long? And as I said, this is embarrassing. This is not, we don't feel great about it. So it would be if there's something that we find out when it comes to running this kind of node, we find out that there's a particular problem, that we'll obviously share that with anyone else in the community. Because yes, we used to have issues with this particular type of node, um, but not as badly, right? This is particularly bad because it basically just crashed without a possibility of restarting it. That basically is to what Consular Vince has been saying. They're in a way similar, but what we used to have before is that you can't see your bought or sold items, right? So this would basically be wrong. This time it's the inventory. Um, it's crazy. Yeah, NFT Hive, both NFT Hive and NFT have different features, right? So that's why we also use NFT for blends and the upgrades and so on, because we really like that kind of stuff. From a trading perspective, you have to see kind of which UI you prefer, right? And that's good. This is how it's supposed to be, right? This is how NFT marketplaces should work, that you find whatever you think is the most handy for you, and then you use that. And that's totally fine, right? And I personally, from a user experience perspective, I still prefer Atomic Hub. I've always preferred Atomic Hub. I've personally never been that much of an NFT Hive person. I only traded there a little bit, mostly buying drops and stuff from there, if anything. But if I like whenever I didn't use Atomic Hub, I would use Nifty back in the day. But I think they all have their pros and cons, and it's Nifty and NFT have definitely are very good products, and totally worth checking out. No, this issue does not affect the chain, right? First of all, again, it's not part of the infrastructure that runs the chain, because that is run by, well, the Spielworks core part, like Wombat, let's say Wombat part of the company, because we had set this up before acquiring Atomic Hub. And officially, the entity running Wombat is behind that, and there's a separate legal entity running Atomic Hub, and so we have a kind of clear separation in there. So these are entirely unrelated on the kind of formal perspective. publicly, of course, it's the same company, it's the same team, it's the same people, it's everything's the same. So if there's anything that would concern the stability of the blockchain, we would totally talk about that. But that's not blockchain related; it's atomic hub related, really. Hmm, sorry, I I have a new desk, and I realized it's a tiny bit too small to have because I got a large screen now, and I'm still looking for the best setup with this with my what is this 30-inch screen, 32-inch, whatever. My laptop, my camera. So I haven't found the right setup. So it's all a little bit cramped there. Mm, yeah. So the issue has been around for. I think the first time I heard about it was Thursday morning, whatever. Um, so we first looked whether we can kind of just restart it as usual, whatever. But we realized that we have to kind of set it up from scratch. Can't you give the mods like a bat phone to call you? Me personally, um, maybe, um, but I'm not sure how that would help in such a case, right? Because I'm not the one fixing stuff. I can't, right? I don't. I may even have the access to a certain extent, but I'm probably not on that level. But that'd be useless. So I'd rather have them call somebody else within the company, and we do have an expedite process for this. If you got hacked, you didn't get hacked. We didn't say that. And also, it's not the blockchain. Again, it's not the blockchain node, right? It's part of the infrastructure that we need to run Atomic. Yeah, Map Cadorna. That's exactly what we're talking about right now. There's an issue. Well, the thing is that if even if you do have a backup, and we do have backups, um, there's still a lot of data because you don't do snapshots every hour, right? Because it's a lot of data. So these backups are might be big, right? So we're looking like we have a solution, but it's just taking time to replicate the data that's missing. How can I transfer my Wombat from KuCoin to Wombat wallet? If you are in Wombat and you select Wombat tokens, you can uh, press the receive button, and then it will show your address, and then you can copy the address and paste that into KuCoin, and then withdraw them from Yeah, I like how we have solved the open offers in Atomic Hubs. Well, there's certain features. There's always certain features that, right? You have a better solution on one end, and basically fits the specific way of how certain people use it. For instance, what I prefer an Atomic Hub a lot over, let's say, Nifty blocks is to see the market and browse the market and filter, right? Because Nifty blocks has this collection specific thing, right? So you first have to choose this collection, and like the the search doesn't always work. I mean, that's a common pattern, I guess. But then you don't necessarily find the collection, and so you don't get into the market properly, right? Or you don't have a market view with the stuff that you want to see. So that I find annoying. It's also Juan or Jose are listening and telling them that, right? Um, so that is to me much like what the solution that Atomic Hub has for that is a lot better. Where you get to what you're looking for on the market much faster, right? There's a lot of like tiny bits and pieces that's easier or better on marketplace than the other, and that's exactly why it's good that no matter where you buy stuff, right, you're gonna be or sell stuff, you're gonna have access to all other people who trade on any one of these marketplaces. I'm sure whether everyone's aware of that, but we have shared liquidity across all the NFT marketplaces on Wax. So the prices are the same, right? It doesn't matter whether you buy um, whatever your pack on Nifty or NFTI or an Atomic Cup, you get the same thing for the same price, and the seller will get the same amount of money. Right? So that's really, really cool. Mm. When the new season started, I was out of my clan. I cannot find my clan badge. Was supposedly lost in this mess. So if you were inactive for a long time, it might have happened that the clan leader kicked you. So you should talk to them. Maybe you can get it back. Mm. The fees on Wax are actually the same across all marketplaces, um, because it's all set in the Atomic Market protocol, right? So any NFT marketplace that uses Atomic Market has the same fees flat out. That's different on other blockchains. For instance, on Polygon, um, most NFT marketplaces are using Seaport. That's the open source part of OpenSea infrastructure, right? And then there's an aggregation software that's called Reservoir on top of Seaport, which is basically an API, right? So any marketplace can call that and see what the offers are and so on. So this is used to basically display all the same offers. But the marketplaces can set their fees themselves, right? So there's a maker and a taker fee. The maker fee is what sellers pay in order, like when they sell things, and there's a taker fee um, that's being paid the by the buyer, right? The problem is the way this is designed. Um, it means that if any marketplace would introduce a taker fee of let's say 1%, then the marketplace decides that there's a taker fee of 1%, right? So the other marketplaces don't have a taker fee of 1%. So how do you do that? If the seller said, okay, I'm accepting let's say 1% in maker fee, but I haven't agreed to any taker fee because my marketplace doesn't use a taker fee, then the marketplace that wants the taker fee to be there, for that marketplace, all the offers on the marketplace will be displayed as 1% more expensive, right? So that is how fees on Polygon would work. So that's why, in order to remain competitive, NFT marketplaces on Polygon typically set a taker fee of 0 and a maker fee of whatever, 1-2%, right? So that's different to a Wax, where on Wax all the fees are the same, and that it has a lot of beauty to it to do it that way. So what I'm hearing is that a server without a failover died. I also assume you're running hosting these local and not using AWS or something. They're not definitely not local, so we don't run any hardware servers. I don't know exactly where that runs on. I guess this runs on bare metal servers that we rent, because these are the kind of the um, more capacity intense ones. Yeah, probably it doesn't have. It's not entirely redundant. Sometimes even if it is, it might break. Yeah. The absence of announcements at the start and the vacuum of info and progress have disappointed many users. A regular status update would be good, especially when this affects practically every single user here. So it takes time, something prompt and regular Would save your mods getting us necessary angry messages from frustrated users. I agree. Um, Originally, we also didn't know how long it would take. Right, or we still don't know exactly how long it would take, but we also had a few people sick and absent. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We definitely need to improve on that. Let me forward this. Um, if there is an announcement, there's a ton of people not checking this and asking it anyway. Yeah, but still, I agree with points for Vince on that one. That it does help because people get updated on it, and um, also announce that once it's fixed. So, since a lot of shitcoins are finding their way to Binance, which is very funny, what are the chances of getting paid to list on Binance? So yeah, Binance have opened up, right, their overall listing requirements. Back in the day, they would always just list top coins on Binance. Ones with a larger audience, right? They would have fairly strict requirements, but they've opened up to, well, officially kind of to support smaller projects, which is overall kind of, I think, a win-win, right? Because Binance, you're able to make money with traders of these projects, of these coins, but at the same time, you get exposure to this um, massive set of potential audience for your token, which is really great, right? So the problem is that, as always, unless it's what happened with Wombat last week on KuCoin, where even there you don't get a lot of upfront communication, right? So it's not like KuCoin had notified us 2 months upfront about, hey, we're thinking about delisting you or whatever. It's literally like it went so fast, especially after being moved to ST on Tuesday. Then on Wednesday they announced the delisting. I don't know why they're doing it like that, right? I mean, I know kind of have a hunch on why, but it's obviously not great for any partners, right? But likewise, if you want to get listed on, let's say, something like Binance, um, if it's an existing token specifically. If it's a new token, it's different, right? Because then you can make announcements up front and so on. Like Hamster Combat, for instance, are currently doing, but with existing tokens, in order to avoid or prevent people from insider trading this kind of news. Sometimes you get notified. So I heard at least like 12 or 24 hours before, right? So that it's harder to actually kind of leak that information um, and have people inside trade on that information. So what I'm saying with a lot of words is that if we knew, or even if we knew that we're getting listed on Binance, or no, even if Binance had decided to list Play, we probably wouldn't know now. And even if we knew, we couldn't tell, right? It's really bad. Um, about support, is there another way we can get help from support? I have two tickets outstanding, one from September 5th last year, one from September 4th this year. I can forward that to our work. Unfortunately, I can't relate to um, which tickets. But, typically, the way would be either create a new ticket or ask again. Um, it's interesting because this one, it's hard to make an announcement if there's no news to give. Though, yes and no, because for many people it still helps, even if you don't have anything you can update them on. For many people, it still helps to understand. Okay, they are aware, they know about it, they are working on it, even if there's no real news to be processed, right? So I agree, but at the same time, I still think it would be better if we could be more proactive. Olga's still on the way. What you mean with on the way? Like gone or like Olga's back? Um, what do you think? Will wax reach $1 cent by Christmas? Um, it's really hard to tell for me where wax is gonna go. On one hand, with all the things going on wax and um, most of you being fans or being users of wax, um, wax would deserve more attention and I guess a better price as well, right? And the price action has been horrible on wax, and that's to a certain extent undeserved when you just look at how how nice it is to use. There's so much adoption, so many NFTs, so much content on there, right? But at the same time, um, there's more and more and more competition, and it's the same problem for everyone, right? If you're not on the top, then people it gets harder to be seen even in a good market, right? So if we look at CoinMarketCap, for instance, there's one thing is kind of the absolute market cap, right? So we'll look at that. Um, for Wax, oh god, we're below 3 cents again. Oh my god. Right. So we reached 10 cents half a year ago, and then ever since it's been really bad. But if we zoom back, right? Okay, we don't even want to talk about the $4 here that was basically trading after the ICO. Maybe we want to look at no, look at that. Not maybe. Um, so that's um, kind of the absolute value, right? But if you so that's really bad if you look at what we had in late 2021 with $90 and ever since that's a factor of like more than 30. And then again, you could argue that it's been rather stable ever since. Whatever, it looks like that. But if you look relative to um, let's say Bitcoin, right? It's been going down quite dramatically. So um, and that also means that in the market cap rankings, it's been dropping, right? So now does it stay here anywhere? Where it is anyway. But the further up you are on market cap, right? Okay, that's stupid. Further up you are on market cap, the easier and similar sites, the easier it is to find you, right? Be discovered by people just exploring. Nowadays, I think we have to go all the way down to page 3. Find wax. Is wax here? I guess no, it's not. Should, right? So market cap officially 103 million. So yeah, okay, so it should be on here. So there we go. 318, right? And so that means it's right in the middle in between all these other things, right? That nobody has ever heard about, right? So it's really hard to find wax because there's no traction. So for pure traders, there's hardly any reason to actually engage with wax, right? So um, that's what's a bit problematic. So it could go either way, right? As soon as you start getting kind of a positive sentiment going on, it's all sentiment driven in such markets, right? It might go up. I kind of it's hard to imagine it going down to 1 cent, but it was hard to imagine for it to go below 3 cents as well. Mm, we use the wallet to push a notification in the future for something like that? Like an issue? Mm, maybe I would have to think about it. I imagine it will take some time to rebuild the Atomic Hub data from the blockchain. On the weekend, myself spent some hours rebuilding just the VM clan tag history, the dungeon stats, and it took so long to not spam any involved API with requests. Yeah, we have a bit of a better access to APIs things, but it's a bunch of data, and yeah, if you want to re-sync with the blockchain. I still remember back in the early days of Bitcoin, where when you wanted to run a Bitcoin wallet, you had to, these were all kind of totally decentralized wallets, right? You would have to sync the whole history of the Bitcoin blockchain before you could sign any transaction, right? That was wild, and that would take a really long time because it's all peer to peer. Here, yeah, it's a little bit better because you have trusted peer nodes essentially, or we can essentially get that data from our own nodes or whatever. The better the backup, that the snapshot that you can get, the more recent it is, the better, the faster it's going to go. The only way that the bosses can know if SLA is being broken or there are issues with ticketing is if you bring it to the attention of the bosses. Yep, totally fine, totally right. Um, Hola, hey, so it's always cool when we have people on X watching the stream and actually commenting, because most of the people who watch this are on Twitch. So we're always happy when there's people watching on Twitter as well. Um, mm, mm, mm. Mob coins when? Whenever the mobs decide to launch them. So happy to have them. Dangus McGuzz. What a cool. Never, never see you comment here. Yeah, we're working on it. It's taking a lot longer than we had hoped for because it's not a pure restart. We have to set up that piece of infrastructure again. I'm sad when I see games released on other blockchains and just a few on Wax. It would be awesome to have better games on Wax. That's true, right? That's also a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy in the end, right? If you look at the types of games that are present on Wax, these are mostly, well, play to earn games, right? So like fairly um, old school in terms of that's stuff that was really working in 2021, 22. The more modern type of game is kind of the um, Web 2.5 or whatever, where you can play the game on mobile, on desktop, whatever, without blockchain, and then you basically can integrate the blockchain later on. Bigger productions, more quote unquote serious games from a gaming perspective, made by people who have made games before, traditional games. Um, the problem is that there's nobody specifically investing money in wax-based projects, right? And since there's no incentives for anyone to build on wax, um, because there's no grants, no investments, whatever, um, it makes it really hard for projects, for high quality game builders who have experience and whatnot, to actually build on wax as opposed to, well, whatever else, because you get incentives everywhere on a lot of chains, right? So we have this discussion about chains that nobody's ever heard of last week, right? Um, there's a lot of these, and they all provide incentives because they've raised a bunch of money from investors, and part of the money goes into funding adoption, right? And on Wax, there's nobody doing it. So it would be so cool if we could raise a fund with all of you here, right? Um, Everybody contributes a little bit of money, and we raise a fund, a few million. I mean, that's rough, right? That's tough to raise that amount of money on Wax, but and then we would fund proper projects, proper games to actually release on Wax, right? That's the sad reality that we're in, is that nobody's really funding these, and this is how blockchain adoption currently is still working, right? If for the lack of actual business, you get these incentives like grants, like investments, and yeah, you um, that's why quality. Like, most of that is not even quality, right? But some of it is quality, and some of that is cost. So it is sad, but there's a reason for that. I have some stuff that has pruned the Bitcoin data to streamline it, but the amount of data is huge for some chains. Yeah, and it's also, I mean, there was the debate um, with Bitcoin Cash back in the day, in 2017, if some of you remember, right? Because Bitcoin being limited to 1 megabyte blocks also means that syncing the last block is pretty fast, right? Because downloading 1 megabyte of data is fairly fast. Anyone can do that. But it gets worse the bigger the blocks get, right? So the validators or miners who have mined a block will have more lead time, or will have a lead time to actually start mining the next block before some other nodes, which are somewhere totally else, have downloaded, let's say, a 64 megabyte um, uh, block, the 64 megabytes of block data, right? So that was the criticism of kind of people who definitely wanted um, to retain the decentralization of Bitcoin. They're arguing that it is going to be much harder for anyone and everyone in the world to actually sync on the blocks when they get really big, right? Um, Especially with Bitcoin, that we're talking about 1 megabyte blocks being the thing. Yeah. How much Wombat is on the market right now? How much to 100% is on the market? So the overall vesting cycle for Wombat is 5 years. Right? So that's part of the allocations had a vesting cycle of 5 years. So 100% will be released at around August, no, in August 2027. Right now we're at about 50%. Knowing Wombat will be abandoned, or whatever the appropriate term is this trading arrangement with Wombat on Albank, hmm, does it meet legal compliances? Um, yeah, it does. I don't know what you're pointing to. It's not like there's anything illegal about replacing one token with another. I don't know if there's anything that you're pointing to specifically. Any news about about new items, combinations in the Dungeon Master store will be come back one day? Yeah, B will surely come back one day. It's been over minted, right? Um, that's why we removed it. Um, it will be back at some point, maybe at a different price, likely at a different price. But yeah, we'll let you know when there's new stuff. We're planning some things, so we have a few more blends, right? Obviously, we're taking all the feedback that we've been getting on the miners, on the um, on the new buildings, on the activations and so on. We're taking all that and basically uh, putting that into well features, into product. And part of that is also getting more things out in the store, in the shop. Did you replace Pedro V1 yet? If not, are you still hiring? Why not hire someone from the community that knows the products and has been around for a long time? Yeah, um, I think I said that last week or 2 weeks ago. Um, that we will, or we, yeah, we will have a replacement for Pedro. We have somebody who we're, we've basically hired already, or pretty much like, yeah, I don't want to say it. Um, we're very close, um, but we might have more people because it's not just one person, right? We will need a lot more people going forward. So it would be great to have people from the community. So if there's anyone you know, or if you want to apply, anyone's here's hearing that, um, to send your application, whatever that means. Right? That's up to you. We have like typically would send a CV or whatever, but that's up to you really. Could also be some kind of a doesn't have to be a full time job, right? In anything. I'm happy to hear your to get your application. Um, Ziva stated in Discord that Spielworks shorthanded since Pedro left, and that is part of the reason Atomic Cup is taking longer to fix when we feel that it will be fully staffed. So fully staffed. Um, in so you would always want more people, right? And yes, Pedro is missing right now because Pedro has been taking care of both Dungeon Master and Atomic Hub, and that may be part of the reason. But Pedro is not the one fixing the problem, or wouldn't have been the one fixing the problem anyway, right? So you could say that's part of the reason, um, but it's not the major part of the reason. Um, as a startup, whatever you want to call us, but you're typically short-handed and you never have too many people, right? So we could use more help. But we also need to be able to afford it, right? Because we could easily have 10 times the number of people. That would be great, but we can't afford them. Right? So we have to be like this has to be a process where um, the growth of the team and the growth of the business actually go hand in hand, and that's always the biggest issue for any entrepreneur. I don't want to talk too much about kind of the, the hard things, the hard thing about hard things, whatever. But this is probably the most difficult balance, and also you don't always get the people that you want, right, or that you need for a particular job. You get people who have a slightly different skill set and then don't or end up not fitting or end up whatever, right? But yeah, we especially now in summer with a lot of people going on holidays, with a lot of people getting sick, right? Things might sometimes go slower. Not necessarily this specific one, but so getting fully staffed on that end, basically by in replacing Pedro, that's a matter of weeks, right? But getting fully staffed in terms of that's the people who we actually think we need, it's going to take forever, essentially. Um, Maybe make a team with developers from other games and like 10% of tokens used for burning to be used to bring new investors. That's going to be too little. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. It's awesome. Have you considered involving tap monsters with distributed computing citizen science? Projects like Boink, Dreamlab, Einstein at Home, amicable numbers, having Wombat Wallet to help exchanging scientific coins like Gridcoin. you for tax reasons and brand support or for supporting? I'll have a look at that, or we will have a look at that on the team. Um, most of that, um, most of that I've I haven't heard about, so would have to have a look. But that's definitely something we should look. All we need is more. Or will you burn play tokens that are equivalent to the burn wallet? Yeah. So when we distribute play, um, technically we will distribute play to, well, the zero address, the null address as well. Right, so those will be burned. Or maybe we'll just not distribute them from the get-go. But that's precisely the point of saying essentially any holder of one wombat will receive two play. Is that if nobody is holding, or the null address is holding one wombat, then these will not contribute. Yes. So in a sense, there's not going to be we will not distribute 20 billion play based off of wombat. There's going to be less. Yes. Will it be possible wombat miners to be bridged to Polygon or EOS with the same MP? Maybe. Thinking what this would entail. I mean, I see where you're going with this. It's definitely relevant. It's a good idea. I'm thinking how we would do it. So, will there be more options in the shop which don't need gold or uranium? Yes. It's the failure of the project team unable to attract big investors that are willing to spend their capital on these projects. Perhaps these projects are lacking innovation or quality, maybe. Someone has a great light bulb idea. Investors will be flocking in droves. No, no, that's not how it works, right? It's not about having an idea. And the sentiment right now, the market for investments is not what it used to be, right? It will get better at some point, but right now it's not great. A lot of startups looking for funding, investors. Well, if you look back 5 years, for instance, when interest rates were low, getting money in. So it's maybe let's talk about VCs for just a second. I don't want to go into too much detail here, but how do VCs work, right? VCs, venture capitalists, they don't work with their own money, right? They have limited partners, typically other funds or individuals or companies or whatever, who deploy money into that fund in order to make a return, right? And when interest rates are low, there's no good alternatives. So you basically push the money that you have, because you cannot deposit in the bank, right? It gives you zero interest rate or even negative interest rates. So you would have to look for something that can generate a bigger return. That's why a lot of pension funds, a lot of even big corporations, enterprises would actually deploy some of their money into venture capital funds. So venture capital funds had an easy time raising money for their funds, right? 4 or 5 years back, for instance. Not saying specifically, but there's obviously been times that were better and worse. But in general, when interest rates are low, it's much easier for funds to raise their money, right? So then if they have more money, they deploy more money. They basically invest into more investment cases. They have bigger funds, right? They have a better time. They can hire more people who they can pay from their fees and so on. So it's better times for projects to raise funds. In times when interest rates go up, there's a lot more competition for VCs, right? There's less liquidity in the market. So VCs in general, for instance, would deploy less money. Same goes for private equity funds. So that's just in general, right? Now, specifically, if you were a venture capitalist or any other investor and you would get a pitch from a game. Cool, good game, decent um, um, concept, looking good, team is somewhat experienced, have done other games before. They're thinking, hey, that might be nice, that might be a commercial success. No, that might be a good game. Let's not talk about commercial success. That might be a good game that people like to play. So how do you gauge whether this game, Web3 game, would become a commercial success? Because that's what you're looking for from an investment perspective, right? So what would you look for? You would look for, well, is the market there? Does it have a market, right? Who will buy products? Who will buy assets from this game? Who will trade NFTs? Who will buy drop an NFT drop? Who will buy tokens? Who will spend money in there? So these would typically be people who are in the ecosystem where the game is supposed to launch, right? And if that ecosystem is large and thriving, and there's a lot of people who have a lot of money, then it's much easier to say, okay, this is going to work. So you will be commercially viable with that game, let's say on whatever Ethereum. We're not obviously talking about Ethereum, but let's say Solana, right? On Solana, there's a lot of people who came in on at maybe $10 or $20 or even $3 or whatever. And if Sol is at 100 or 150 or 200 or whatever, then there's a lot of people who have made a lot of money. So it's going to be much easier to convince an investor type of person that this will be a commercial success as well, not just a good game, but a commercial success on top, right? And with Wax, it's specifically hard. So now an investor would want to see, okay, is there any kind of why are you building on Wax? Are you getting any special support from Wax or from inside the Wax ecosystem, right? And that's exactly the problem. So with Solana in particular, it was really cool because A16Z and Reason Horowitz, they had invested in Solana, and then they announced that they would invest in Solana-related projects, right? That is a burner, right? That's really cool because um, then if you build on Solana, you know that there's going to be investors for that. Maybe not for you yourself, but for things building, right? There's going to be a certain amount of infrastructure. Then A16Z actually invested in the Phantom wallet, so it was clear that Phantom would be around for a while, and so on and so on, right? So it's much easier to build on an ecosystem that's thriving and that has investors actually pushing this ecosystem specifically because they have incentives to do so, right? So on Wax, if we had like big scale investors who hold a lot of Wax actually invest into other projects actually to build on Wax, that would be a win-win, right? Because then the ecosystem would be thriving. But in order to do that, you would have to showcase that any game or any project or whatever can be commercially viable. Sorry, there was a long one, but it's not what I was getting to with this conference is it's not as simple, right? There is a certain component of being strategically positioned with one particular type of or one particular choice that you made from a technical. I might have missed some announcement or just have bad luck. Is it that the Prime loot box currently only drops the old letters for Wombat and Prime? No. I'm pretty sure I got a J today. Let me look at this up. At least the inventory is still. I got a B today and the J yesterday. So J yesterday. So it's not just Wombat and Prime. So if anyone else has a similar effect, but it might be bad luck because the Wombat and the Prime letters have higher probabilities. Yeah, maybe Dungeon Worlds would help the Wax blockchain and the Wombat community and the activity from a big company definitely bring people with right purpose. Yeah, that's precisely what we're thinking about with kind of any activation for Dungeon Worlds or Dungeon Master. We're working on this, and this so might have a similar tie-in. No, maybe even a stronger tie-in to Wax than the Bags Tapper, right, from Launch Bags. But we still have the same problem as anyone else, right? So we would love to basically push Wax, right? But what's in it for us? Um, for us, it might actually still be easier as well from a commercial perspective, right? To launch something on Polygon or on Solana. Not talking Solana, like Ton or whatever, right? Um, So, I mean, we would make a lot of you happy, of course. So that's in that's in it for us. We also hold a bunch of wax, so that would be in it for us as well. But there's like that's not as relevant to us as because how much can we actually do, right? How much can we influence, for instance, the price of wax, right? Without having 50 million, whatever, for kind of an ecosystem fund at hand that we could spend there. So there's going to be just small increments, but yeah, that's part of the plan. Bridge Wombat to I'm immutable ZKVM, so we can all have 307,500 more MP. Think of the item burn. So we would first have to integrate as KVM, but that's a definitely possibility. And then bridging is over. Yeah, that's good. You consider postponing Dungeon Worlds was a big mistake. Um, hmm, well, mm, the short answer would probably be no, because the way we approached Dungeon Worlds back then where the market went at the same time um, would have killed Dungeon Worlds from a kind of commercial perspective. Um, but we should have moved away from this concept to a newer one a lot faster. So that's I think that was um, Sasha knows both Wombat and Atomic Cup, so have you considered bringing him back to the team? Thanks, Puzzler. Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking t been thinking, about all kinds of options, and that also obviously Sasha crossed my mind. There's always and I don't want to be, discussing any details about our relationship or whatever. Sasha and I still talk, right? So it's good. It's just that it's not enough, and that's what I've always been saying also about kind of hiring people from the community. This is not the only requirement, right? It's not the only requirement to know a product. There's a lot of there's a lot of players of a game, right? Or there's a lot of people, whatever. Having seen all the Star Wars movies doesn't make you a good director, right? I mean, that's a stupid comparison, but because obviously Sasha is a professional, or yeah, used to work in that role, right? But there's always more components. That's what I'm saying. So um, maybe worth a discussion. Um, so many rugs in the game space and with 3, I don't know. I mean, I got rugged hard on Star Citizen, and that game never really came out. Aren't they still working on it? So not technically rugged. Um, Based on circulating supply of Wars and Wombat, play circulating supply would be around 16 billion, isn't it? Hmm. Hmm. More like closer to 20, but yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. It's probably yeah, around that. Yeah, maybe a bit closer to 20. Would Wombat ever look at moving off EOS to like other chains related to EOS since the fees and costs on EOS are getting stupid? So we're not really, right? So what you mean with moving off of EOS, like not because we can't just delete the NFTs, right? So um, the only thing that we would maybe it would make sense in that regard, kind of, was to remove EOS as an option from Dungeon Master, I believe, right? And that we're not really considering that. But if was did I miss anything besides? Because last I checked, the costs for RAM were actually going down. Just talking about RAM. Um, yeah, so they're a lot lower than they were in early July when RAM price reached its peak. I mean, it's still fairly high historically. So, but yeah, no urgency here. Also, we like EOS generally. We like people there. So we have strong ties, so there's no reason kind of to move away from EOS in any way more than we have as kind of where do we send new users on Wombat initially. Um, mm, to check layer zero, maybe a game like Dungeon Worlds could be built on this, and so a lot of chains could be integrated, wax logins, staking, etc. would be integrated in the same way like in Dungeon Master. Um, we haven't looked at layer zero for anything like that. We will for bringing this up. Haven't been involved with layer zero a lot. Mm, Spasiba Zion. Why are all the infos about Wombat projects so hard to find? Why don't you run some transparent site instead of posting glimpses of infos on trash socials like X, Discord, Twitch, etc.? Um, it's a valid point, but where would you want to have it? Like a wiki of sorts? Um, you said were the good times with cheap credit, which unfortunately the time has passed. If the timing isn't right, the team should delay their project launch. It's the reality of the current time, and nothing the team can do really. Ultimately, the project team makes all those critical decisions, either right or wrong, good or bad. Some projects get an easy ride, and some just don't. If it's my project, I would like to think it was the merit of the project rather than timing or luck. That's one way of looking at it. But again, yeah, that's exactly what teams do, right? They do make these decisions, and it's not just um, so timing, changing the timing, moving product launches and stuff. That's basically arbitrage, right? So that's arbitrage on time. But there's other arbitrage as well that happens, and that is arbitrage, for instance, on which technology you work with. And projects are consistently arbitraging on this, so that they find the best solution that works for them, right? And that's exactly what created this whole grant hopping situation over the past few years, where projects would, or games, whatever it is, right? People building, they would commit to one particular technology, maybe even exclusively for a certain amount of time, and get a grant in order to, or in exchange for them committing on an announcement and so on, that they would build with that technology, whatever. Back in the day, what was Polygon were very generous with grants, right? Back in the day, they would basically just send you a few K, um, just like that, right? Not anymore, right? Um, then but then what happened is that projects would essentially commit to this, build a little bit, and then run out of money that they got as a grant, and then basically move somewhere else to get a new grant, right? So you would actually pile up different blockchain integrations just to get the grants. but it wouldn't actually do anything or help anything and so on. So then specifically blockchains started getting a lot more advanced with their grant requirements. They would say, "Oh no, you have to meet certain milestones, right? So that we actually get something for our money, right?" So that helped that situation a little bit, but still, it's like um, if you can get a grant, and that can be a large grant from somebody, you might actually want to do that because you whatever, and that right? But that's different. You don't get it on wax, right? So that's how we started the discussion, right? Was about kind of why is nobody building on wax, and the reason is that there is arbitrage happening in terms of time. So yeah, people are moving their launches. There's a reason why Catalyst are launching their token on Friday this week, and Hamster Comet are launching their token next week, and why they didn't launch in August or July. July was what they originally had promised, because there's the there's a Fed decision this week, right? And everyone wanted to do that after the Fed decision because they expected market sentiment to be better. Will it be actually better? Nobody knows, right? But that's precisely what happens all the time, and I don't think that's good. I don't think that teams should actually be making decisions based off of kind of short-term market movements. But it is the reality that this makes a lot of a difference for your funding, for your whatever, right? For basically the resources that you have at hand. And I totally understand anyone who does that. Same with blockchains, right? You don't build on the better technology. Nobody does that. You build you build on the network that gives you a bigger chance of succeeding, right? Whatever that means. It's because it's hard. It's really hard to run a business. So, um, Woofy and NFTopia are discussing having a Wooftopia at the end of November. Would Wombat consider being an exhibitor? Yes, we would. Please contact Olga. Um, on some site that is up to date with all the infos necessary for investors, like how exactly will play be distributed, use cases for your coins, user base, etc. Basic stuff. Is too much to ask. No, it's not too much to ask. It's um, it's just the question is how would you want, because we have a light paper, so that will be expanded into the white paper. Is that going to be it, or is there going to be information missing? Or I don't know what kind of information you would be looking for, because for each individual product, for instance, like let's say Dungeon Master, there's a whole learn more page for Dungeon Master specifically, right? And that is not entirely up to date, and it doesn't contain all the information that everyone's looking for. And it's hard to have all the information that everyone's looking for because there's a lot of information to be had, right? And then you need to structure that information in a meaningful way, and somebody needs to take care of keeping it updated. So that's when, well, and sites come upon and so on, right? Um, it's I'm just looking to understand what exactly you're looking for, what kind of details about the products, for instance, and so on, right? Because you started with the will Wombat do a collab with Taco for an Encryptia event? Healing Worlds is having a crypto event constantly. We've had one with Taco. I will jump back on their backs um, to another one. Layer Zero is built to connect multiple blockchains. So far, so good. They have endpoints on the chains, so you can bridge stuff, I guess. Yeah, the question is whether there's going to be any support for wax, right? NFTs, OFTs can be minted. OFTs can be minted on the chain you prefer. This would be perfect for instance, one play. The quest rewards could be minted on the chains the user prefers. This would bring a big flexibility into one play rewards. That's true. That's correct. If it if it's really that easy, maybe. Um, I'm not privy of the agreement of the arrangement on Wombat and Play with L-Bank. He said Wombat is replaced in whatever ratio is, then I guess that would be okay. I'm just saying it based on the face value of info that I'm aware of. There was a question on a statement. Um, yeah, so it's just really always very hard to talk about arrangements with um, with exchanges, right? I think I said it on one of the maybe I don't know whether I said it on stream or wherever, but um, from a pure regulatory perspective, it's um, yeah, you have to be really cautious with kind of talking about what you do with exchanges, right? Again, because there might be information that is um, that can be used for insider trading, or because you would essentially make an indirect statement that your token is um, is being used for investment, which makes it a non-utility token, right? So that's the difficulty that we're in with crypto and utility tokens, that you're not clear what it is, so you have to stay clear from a certain from certain aspects, right? So and then officially basically paying for a listing, you're not allowed to do that because that would mean that you're essentially officially making it something that you want people to invest in. But anyway, long story. Um, we're fine with LBank for now, but we'll have a lot. Like we're working on a lot more listings for Play in general. Um, hey, by the way, Robot, thanks for your resub. Robot has been subscribed 18 months. 18 months. That is a really long time. Thanks a lot for that, Robot. A staking system for Play integrated in Dungeon Master might be a good idea, except for the VIP part. So, what kind of staking? Different from the VIP part? Like, you stake Play and that gives you mining power? Gives me ideas for more miners, essentially, like the Wombat miner. Um, Beanton Bob, I appreciate you putting yourself out there for the good, bad, and the ugly. At the end of the day, you need to sift through the ideas to find the ones that will aid in your roadmap. Yeah, there's thanks, by the way, for your support here. That's that's what we've been doing, right? A lot, like sometimes we don't make a direct connection between, hey, this has been said on stream, and that's why we do it, or this was in a Discord session, and that's why we do it. But we do things based on the feedback that we get, right? That is an integral part of our decision-making process are these discussions. Because then we know, hey, what does the average player want? What does the advanced player want? What does a new player want? What do the very advanced players want, or users or community members, right? What do VIP level sevens want? What do and obviously the deeper you're in, the more vocal you're going to be. So it's typically harder to get to through ways like this to get to know very new users, right? So hardly anyone is like who comes here and stream, who finds the stream, has been like really new, and I can only encourage, right? Anyone who has just downloaded Wombat or has come in through Tap Monsters or has found Dungeon Master, has been using Atomic Hub, whatever, right? To just come on here and speak up and tell us your feedback, or any place essentially, right? Because that is how we can improve, even if we can't do everything at once. Sometimes we can't do things at all, right? And oftentimes they're in conflict with other aspects, right? So, for instance, setting the setting the threshold, the maximum in mining power for the wombat miners, right? There's a very valid discussion, right? Why is it what it is? Why isn't it higher? Um, the main reason, so I like actually finding guiding principles and then ideally communicating these guiding principles, right? So for anything mining power related, what we like to do is to approach it from the lower end, right? Because it's always easier to increase mining power for any item than to reduce it. We've been getting a lot of criticism whenever we would reduce mining power. And to a certain extent, I can obviously understand that because some people buy NFTs for their mining power, and if that suddenly gets reduced by a lot, then you're disappointed and you're angry, right? But at the same time, yeah, so that's why I don't want to like even argue against that because it's right, right? That's what you do. Is that good or smart? Whatever, that's your decision. It should be normal that we reduce things, but we still get that feedback every single time we do that, right? So what we do is whenever we do something new, where we don't know exactly how that's going to do balancing wise. We approach things from the lower end, so we basically would limit the mining power instead of making it too high, right? Because then we if we put it too high, then we would have to reduce it at some point, and then people would get angry again. Oh, I've spent this much, right, to level it up, whatever. So we'd rather keep it smaller and then expand from there. So that's part of what basically how we're including the feedback that we're getting here and anywhere else into what we do essentially. Um, this is so cool. For example, stake 1 million play and get 2% speed. I wonder how many people would do that. Right? Obviously, it depends on what the boost is. But yeah, well, um, not sure if you answered this already, but you talked about fragments and profession sets getting upgraded. Can you share more details? Um, hmm, can I share more details already? So the idea is for the fragment. The idea for the fragments is for them to get, well, basically different blends, right? More different blends, and maybe that would end up mm, meaning that we reduce the number of fragments that you need in order to blend a UV pack as well. Um, maybe, right? Um, we're thinking we're also thinking about doing something similar with fragments that we've done with um, don't don't take that as investment advice at all, right? Don't go and buy hundreds of fragments now. Um, but doing something similar to the to the confettis, in that we would use the fragments elsewhere as well, right? Saying thinking about it, but that's different from the profession sets. The profession sets, we're thinking about giving people an option to basically upgrade them in a way, right? So that the end result could be better than what it currently is, because that's the biggest criticism. They're essentially too bad, right? But what we don't want to do is just launch a new set or a new edition of all the profession sets, whatever it is, with better stats, right? We could do that, but that would basically be out of whack, right? But so we first want to work with the items that we have. We have a few ideas on how we can do that. Stay tuned. Ever thought of making the depth in the well level based and also let the prices of the season pass vary? Ooh, I mean, the depth of the well level based, that I see. I can relate to that. Um, um, but the price of the season pass, I don't see that because it's an NFT. It's an NFT for a reason. It would basically mean that we would have to move away from just having one type of NFT to like whatever tiered. Um, very, very difficult. Probably not worth it. Would be cool if you could back a miner with Play. I think you can only currently back with Wax. Well, you can currently back with Wax and PGL. Any NFTs on Wax, we should totally add the most important NFTs, the most important tokens to that, right? I think that there should be not only Wombat or Play in the future, there should be TLM, Nifty, liquid stake wax, these kinds of things should be at least maybe 50 tokens, I would say, you should be able to back your NFTs. Um, does anyone check the games pages apps from Wombat Explorer? Many closed links don't work. For sure, should review this. We do that every once in a while, but I'm honestly not sure when last time was. So I'll ask somebody to do that. Where can I find a valid roadmap for Wombat Spielworks? In the light paper for the Spielworks light paper, which is linked on the website. Why didn't you fill up the Well of Wealth? We haven't filled it up yet. Because what I just said about the items may have an impact on the Well of Wealth this season already. Mm. You can blue when I tried the only option was max. Oh, look, so there's maybe there's yeah, that may be related to different things. So there's there's two things that need to happen. Let's see. There's one configuration on atomic assets. I think it's here. So there's two tokens here, supported tokens. That's Wax and that's PGL, right? So this needs to happen on kind of a smart contract level on atomic assets, and this is a multi-sig. So this needs to be agreed by the group of people group of companies who have access to change that, right? Because this is decentralized. This, I think, so we should, I think we should add that, right? So we will make a proposal. We should add a lot of tokens because why not? But then there's the front end part because the marketplaces they need to um, they need to allow um, they need to allow all of these tokens to be used. And I believe that in Atomic Hub, there's right now only the option to do wax. But for instance, that was the philosophy, right? Don't do any kind of weird token, just wax. If you look at Nifty blocks, for instance, you have wax and PGL. So I guess this is being loaded from the config in the smart contract, which we probably, I would assume, don't have in Atomic Hub for probably like historic reasons. But these are two things that should happen. Yeah. The current range of MP is just too wide. Most of NFTs are as low as 5, and some are OG into thousands. Simply use 1,000 MP versus 5 MP. That is a ratio of 200. So a single NFT of 1,000 MP in a single slot equates to taking 200 slots of 5 MP. This is highly imbalanced in my humble opinion. Oh, I actually disagree with this. because there's some NFTs of which we have millions, right? Now you can argue, why are they stakeable to begin with? Fine, right? Um, but yeah, I mean, the 5MP is not relevant, right? You could say that the 5MP NFTs are not relevant in terms of MP, because nobody is really staking them except for maybe material and whatnot, right? But the kind of the supply and the price and the value and the actual scarcity of NFTs can vary by much, much more than a factor of 200. So I don't think that this is having or capping this at 200, for instance, would be justifiable, to be honest. But then if you look at it from a different perspective, let's say the maximum is 1,000, or you want the maximum of 1,000, capping this, so that the range is 200. Yeah, and then if you think about it, none of the NFTs that actually matter have a mining power of 5. So if you started with it at 50 or 100, which is what matters to pretty much anyone, right? At least on Wax, then your 200 factor goes for between 50 and 10,000. This is much more like what we have. But I actually don't really agree with this assessment, to be honest, Hans Verwins. Any more Wombatium blends coming for Woofy drops? So the Woofy stuff is not fully minted yet, right? The Woofle, where is it? I know, no, it's not. So there's still 900 left. Come on, guys. So once that's done, we'll think of something new. Cap top. I don't know. I have many 5MP on my EOS chain. Am I alone here? I have a lot of 5MP there as well. But then again, on EOS, it's also harder to get like a high MP. Well, maybe the balance between chains, that's arguable, right? I need tapping game coming on Wombat that I can play through Waxwall. Yeah, I just spoke about that 20 minutes ago or so. So Backstepper, for instance, is supposed to be an activation for Wax as well, right? It has a Wax login and a ton. Is it ton or is that something else? I don't remember. Look at who's here. You want to come in for the last 20 minutes? Okay. So I need to plug in my earphones to get in.
Hello everyone.
Me too.
I need to say that I told you that my PC was in the shop, so I literally ran to the shop, which I took 40 minutes just to get a laptop to be able to be here with you. So here I am, even if it's just
if
for
you
20
want to
minutes.
come. I've been managing for an hour 40 minutes now, and now you're coming. You're late, Pedro.
I'm sorry. I do apologize.
But it's crazy. So you still don't have it fixed?
No. The RAMs stopped working, so motherboard, everything needs to be replaced. It's a storm of poop.
That's what you get, right?
Yeah.
One thing breaks, you have to replace everything.
Yes, and Stanley over here, he was complaining that the crosswords just weren't working as well. So today is a hard day at the office.
Okay, so I was just getting into what Spasiba Ziom has been asking about tapping games. Backstepper. I don't want to some people are saying, why are you advertising this? I'm not advertising this. I just like talking about projects of built by friends of Spielworks.
We
And
talk a lot
personally,
about partners, for instance, when we have recommendations, we recommend a lot of our partners that work with us or that are just cool in the ecosystem. So for us, talking about other products or people or projects is all good.
yeah. So Backstabber, to an extent, I mean, it's supposed to obviously create engagement with the tokens that launch on launch bags, right? And that entails wax because without a wax wallet, there's nothing you can do there, right? Essentially, or you can't earn the tokens there. But for us, for yeah, anything going forward, I mean, we've also had the same discussion actually about tap monsters. Should we have a wax in there or not, right? But tap monsters, we don't actually know where we'll launch the monster token and chain monsters and app monsters and so on. We haven't made a final decision on that yet, so we didn't want to have kind of a premature any kind of wallet login because it's useless, right? To just have a wallet login for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Um, but if we have something that directly is supposed to interact with stuff that we already have, then yes, we'll add that, and hopefully that will cause a ton of people to go from Telegram into then Wax as well. This might actually lead the way to a certain extent because Wax definitely needs more marketing. We spoke about that here earlier.
Yeah. No, one of the things I actually have a thing that I would like to float to our audience.
Oh,
Yes,
alpha.
the marketing guy came running with ideas. Yes, I get ideas while I run because I'm fat, so I don't run that often. One of the things that me and Mad were speaking, and this is actually a pitch for the audience and you as well, Adrian, is that we were considering for Dungeon Master the idea of having Spielworks owned collections. So every time we make votes on collections that people add, right? Every season, every time we have a voting, I would love to know with different themes. So it doesn't need to be like fully wombat centric, but how would you guys feel if we launched a collection as well with the other collections that are being added to the game? We got up this idea because, as you remember, last time I was here, I showed the NFT collection that I was trying to work on just to
Yes.
float my creative juices.
Mhm.
And Bernardo actually told me, "Hey, what if we added a collection like that to Dungeon Master?" Like, what if Spielworks had its own collections alongside the ones that we work with our creators?
I still don't understand what that would entail precisely.
So it would entail us making NFTs creatively.
Yeah, but we already have a lot of NFTs. That would be my argument. We already have a lot of NFTs, and
I know, but it's
it's
fun. We
so
need
much.
to do fun things as well.
It's fun, but it's also a lot of work. I can tell you from own experience. So as soon as
Of
that's
course.
out, right, you'd have to maintain it. People would ask what's happening with it next. So on.
Well, well, Biscuit, we want to make AH work, so we have teams working fully on that. It's not really an extra project; it's a fun project that we're just speaking about. And Coins for Vince, yes, this is a laptop, which is very, very underpowered for streaming and having virtual backgrounds because my office is a mess because I have a son who loves pushing my collectibles around. So yes, that's why it's having this moment where I move and it goes blah. But I thought it was worth talking about it. I love inventing new things.
Prince Paradox wants more Gamer Cave NFTs.
Gamer
Um,
Cave NFTs.
well, which we're working on. Um, does Matt have a does he have a drawing collection? I didn't
I
know.
will ask him. I will 100% ask him, Chucky. But if it exists, I will make my best to put it on Dungeon Master.
What's Anne collectibles?
Oh, it's Annie collectibles. It's from my
Annie.
favorite characters in League of
Ah,
Legends. For instance, here is Annie, and Tibers in the 10th year anniversary version. I love this statue. It costed me a bunch of money, and it's rare as fuck.
Okay, from Matt Droy Twitch streams.
Ah, it's the game where he draws things and people need to guess what it is. I'll tell him to start taking prints, like when our kids start doing drawings, so that we
Mhm.
can have them on as a permanent collection on Dungeon Master with 1 MP, just for special users.
Did you hear of that 3-year-old kid from Germany whose paintings are being sold for like hundreds of thousands of dollars to US kind of collectors? I was thinking about that when my son was basically making drawings like when he was 3, right? I made a bunch of them into NFTs and but never launched it as a collection. But I thought, okay, that's actually pretty cool. Like in high times of NFT collections, right? This could be a thing. But then again, it's really tough to exploit your 3-year-old kid for making money with their paintings, and if they actually just want to have fun, like
Well,
doing stuff,
people
right?
can imagine near-realist things in pretty much every drawing our kids make if we show them to the correct audience. Like, what does it make you feel? Oh, you can see the anger and the loneliness.
Of this 2.5-year-old kid.
It's like we live with that daycare and say, draw now, so that you can put the anger of the parents leaving. It's amazing.
all crypto to USDC and put it in a trust for college. Why would you? That's an interesting one. Why would you put that into USDC instead of keeping it in, let's say, Bitcoin? Or well, wax may actually be a little bit a little bit risky, but with Bitcoin, if we reach Michael Saylor's prediction of what did he say last? 12 million per Bitcoin, something like that. That is a trust for a college. Um, Sapa Mendabat. Yes, it's possible to review the EMPs for new collections because some have very low MPs. That's true. Part of the reason is what I said earlier is that we go from kind of lower values to higher values in general. So we don't want to overdo them. But this year was basically, or in general, with new collections, it's a result of kind of our rules and the algorithm that basically says, okay, this should have this much MP based off of how many have been minted. We should revisit these rules in general because they're old. Um, Prince Paradox believes that crypto is the future, but has little faith in all the divergent chains at this point. I would totally agree. Like from an investment perspective, right? It's really hard to make out like a single very good bet. I mean, to me, if Telegram succeeds as a gaming platform and as a platform overall, right, then Ton will be a really good, well, will be a really good shot, right? Because there's going to be a lot of stuff going on Ton and a lot of users on it. Then there's similar stuff running and being built for Line and whatnot, right? All the other messengers in Asia, for instance. That's crazy. But long term, if I were to like, okay, will this exist 20 years from now when my kids are grown up or 15 years from now when my kids want to go to university or college? Yeah, I'm not sure whether I would use, I don't know, anything but Bitcoin, essentially. Um, Spasiba Zion didn't get an answer, so I'll ask again. That's totally fair. If you don't get an answer, you can always ask again, right? It's not that we ignore any questions here, or I ignore any questions here on purpose. Sometimes they just slip through cracks, so just um, ask them again. Will play be bridgeable between chains with Wombat infrastructure? So play will be bridgeable between chains because we will launch play on all the chains that Wombat is currently on. But I'm not entirely sure what you mean with Wombat infrastructure, whether that's like all the other chains that are supported by Wombat. That is not necessarily going to be the case, right? Because for some chains, there's simply too few people using them overall or within Wombat, so that it's not worth to actually bridge the tokens there. Right now we have Wombat on Ethereum, Polygon, EOS, Wax, and immutable ZKVM. Right, that's already 5 chains. That's quite plenty, uh, quite plenty opportunities to actually have it. But there are some chains where you can actually self-service bridge them yourselves as well. Right, I've recently seen that. Was that for Ton? I think that the Ethereum Ton bridge allows anyone to bridge any token. So I was thinking about like just privately, personally bridging some Wombat over to Ton, just for the fun of it. When will we get a gym and arcade for clan buildings boost to token and stamina? That's next on the list. Not for clans, right? But right now we're working on the because there was in the voting the um, the creator portal. So that's what we're working on. Adrian missed a chance to capitalize your kids' creations. Pedro, don't make the same mistakes. Your old laptop has a good quality camera, by the way. That's correct. It's not that bad. So if your kid gets in the age of making drawings and paintings, do digitalize them, sell them as NFTs, and live off of the royalties forever.
Smart contracts with capitalization features for 18 years in 18 years specifically to college fund. No, my camera isn't the laptop one. I use the good old Logitech C920, which is like corporate standards. It's not an. It doesn't ask for enough juice, but it bridges out good quality. Always loved it. 50 euros on Fnac.
Fnac.
Portugal, that's where you buy everything electronically. It's Fnac or Vorten, which is our local retailer. But yes, I will consider putting everything into NFTs as soon as I learn how.
That is easy. The how is really easy with the tools that we have at hand. Masbaz is asking about City Holder. Haven't heard of that. I'm not sure. But anyway, have more than 2 million users. Would it be possible to do a collab with such games from the Telegram ecosystem? Well, yes and no. What they typically look for is collabs with other games that are on Telegram, right? So that's what we've been doing with Tap Monster specifically. Tap Monsters does bring users to Wombat, and then these people start playing Dungeon Master as well. Obviously, always a portion of them. So happy to discuss with City Holder about a collab with Tap Monsters. It's not as easy to get collabs with other games, right? They don't typically do collabs with non-Telegram games. Let's put it that way. Yeah, we'll check with
Yeah,
these projects.
if Masbaz, if you can send us a link, that will just get us on our way to the BD team for them to start getting notes and conversations going. It's always great. Thank you for the suggestion.
There looks to be an issue going on in the clan leaderboard. All of a sudden, 11 million points have been removed from my clan in the past hour. Okay.
Weird.
Weird.
Nadu, can you send us the name of your link of your clan? That way we can get it to the team and they can look into it.
Look, my cloud wallet does let you bridge Woof from Wax to Ton now. Nice. Pedro, are you going to the wine aisle with a pineapple and the head of lettuce? Is that an insider joke I'm not getting?
I would say pineapple because I'd say I love pineapple more than lettuce, but I don't know what it means. It's dangerous. I know what it is now. I know what it is now. It's because in Spain, there's a thing where at 7 p.m. people go to Mercadona, and if they have a head of lettuce turned upside down and they bump into other people who have also a pineapple upside down, it's like, let's go on a date. And no, I've been hitched for some time now, so just lettuce for me.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting. So you seen Naru's response to you.
Yeah, I'm getting to the team right now. Thank you,
Thanks,
Nadu.
thanks for doing that. So I don't have to. Look, it's great to have you on stream, Pedro. Coins for Vince. The current mechanism on stamina has unintentionally, so it's an unwanted feature. Disadvantaged players who joined Dungeon Master post season 15-16 when stamina reduction gears can only be obtained through secondary market. Could the team look into providing a fair chance for these group of players in their attempts on stamina reduction? Hope soon. I hope if the team is well, okay. Yeah. Well, I get it. I get it. So you're basically pointing towards, can we launch a stamina reduction here? Um, are there any people with high speed doing runs with super negative stamina? If it's so, isn't that a game breaker? So we've heard about that. Actually, Webby um, uh, has been saying that he wants to try that. How's that? How is that working out for you, Webby? I'm really curious. Negative
Negative
100.
100,000. Jesus,
Um,
that is slow.
well, we might have to make it increase the penalty, but I'm wondering, is that like, is the penalty really worth it? Because if it is, we will definitely look into that. But that was exactly what we wanted to find out. Because right now I'm not seeing how that would be, how that is a dominant strategy. But
I would say that we should instill the Doctor Evil penalty: 1 million negative speed, and you would have a permanent wombat with the pinky in the mouth.
hmm, maybe that. Can't buy your groceries peacefully from 7 to 8 p.m. in Spain.
But it's really a thing. I initially it was a joke, but if you go, there is really a ton of people looking for dates over there. That's like Tinder on steroids. It's incredible. It's a movement that started, but people really get on dates on the grocery shopping, and not just old people. Considering that I'm not old, I'm 33.
Yeah, you're not old,
At least I
says
don't
the.
think I am. Nowadays, I don't understand the new lingo with the Riz and the Sigma and the caps and all the yadas, but I don't think I'm old yet.
Well, wait until your kid is that age to talk like that.
No, I don't. He doesn't even talk yet, so I'm fine with this current version.
When they start talking, it's actually a lot of fun and it's incredibly cute.
Okay.
Um, so, but
We always have the father X father moment in stream.
always, I mean, it's like, that's why you're a dad, right? It's like it's funny because when you meet somebody, right, there's always talk about what people do, and people identify themselves by their jobs a lot,
Yeah.
right? And it's just in our cultures so much that you don't talk about yourself as, hey, so you don't start when somebody asks you, hey, who are you? Right? Obviously, typically people don't ask, who are you? People ask, what do you do? Right? So, so it's already a lot more difficult to answer a question, what do you do, with I'm a dad, right?
Yeah.
But if somebody asks, who are you? And you would probably not start a sentence with, hi, I'm Pedro, I'm a dad, and I have a kid, and I work blah blah blah, right? So you
Yeah.
probably start with like, I work as blah blah blah, and then that company, or for a company that does X, right? So because people identify themselves, but you actually spend so much more of your lifetime with your kid than you spent at work, right? That it's valid, um, to,
100%.
to actually
100%.
start off with, I'm a dad.
See what these people are saying. Like D-Riz, Skibbity Riz. What the hell is that? Is that a language? I've been seeing videos of people using mods on Skyrim to put that in the game, and that in itself is like, what is this? It's like, I'm a boomer. Yes, I feel 100% a boomer when I read these things.
Yeah, okay, yeah, yeah, sure. um
Sorry, I skipped some comments. I just needed to address this.
Rising Dragons. When can we expect Atomic Cup to be back? Um, it's hard to get an answer for that because it's not solely dependent on us doing the work, but also on other factors getting the data resynced. So personally I don't want to put any pressure on anyone on the team who's maybe watching this, but I personally hope tomorrow. But that's not an educated answer, unfortunately.
But thank you, Rising Dragons, for loving our UI. We worked hard on it. Always looking
Well,
for the positive.
yes, you are. Um, oh, this is mean. Can we get Pedro to do the tavern instead of you? Um, it's so mean. I feel diminished in my pride, but at the same time, it makes me incredibly happy because I would love um, to have Pedro do it more often. Right?
It would be frustrating for you guys because I don't have as many answers, not knowledge in crypto as Adrian does. What
You're
we
just
can do.
cooler and more handsome.
Yes, especially sweaty as I am from running. But what I will say is that right now we're discussing with the team, and maybe there's a big maybe I'm taking over Friday Smasher Pass because Olga needs to do some personal things. So maybe there will be a Pedro's team this week.
More
Maybe.
Pedro streams. Yes, cool. Or or we do another 24-hour stream at some point and Pedro will be part of that. I don't know.
Yes, you will see me fishing in World of Warcraft, which is something I actually do, and we can chat while I get my fish on.
Look, Prince Paradox wants you to play MOBAs with the community.
Sure, let's organize it. I'll
Do you
ask
play
Bernardo to.
any others than LOL?
I play Dota, but I'm bad at it. Very bad at it. I also played Heroes of New Worth a long time ago. I can try and get it
Oh
back.
no.
Smite. I tried the Deadlock from Steam, but I didn't like it. I know it's not a MOBA, but it's within the environment. Hmm. Just those are the three that I played: Dota, Hon, and LoL. But LoL is the one that I'm best. You
Okay.
should see Matt playing. Matt, especially when he gets annoyed. It's so funny because he tilts really hard and he gets very, very angry. I love playing with him when he's
On
annoyed.
on LOL or
Yeah, on
what?
League. He starts yelling in Discord.
I
It's
can,
so funny.
you know how much I can imagine that, but I've never seen him tilting because, for instance, like his favorite game to play on stream was always Warlines, right? And he's
Ah,
pretty decent at Warlines, right? So he would win most of the time, and he would like play super cool and like whatever, right? Be the big guy, but him losing like 10 times or whatever, that would be
no, it's funny because
amazing to
he
watch.
he usually tilts at a single person, so that person gets pinged to infinity, whilst he's in my ear screaming, "That idiot! Why is he doing?" It's so funny.
So
Sorry.
let's just like really briefly because we're past the 2 hours. Maybe Pedro, you want to go ahead a little more with the chat, but I will have to run
Oh, sorry.
soon because or more than 2 hours. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Just let's go through the last few questions and let's do a very quick Twitchy tides because I want to see whether my announcement last week that anyone who will poop with their rare wombats in Twitchy tides today will get a million woof from me. Whether that actually helped, right?
Well, let me just single out the comment from Coins for Vince is really why I believe the tavern is so important as the marketing director now, because people can get real answers from you, Adrian, the CEO, which we know is always great, especially with context. Because whilst we are not a huge company and a huge team, Adrian tends to be the endpoint for everything Wombat, everything Spielworks. And having him here for 1 hour, 2 hours just talking to you. I know that I bring some silliness to the game, but like getting the core answers direct without having to go, let me check, because that's what a stream with me like this would be. It's like, okay, I'm taking 50 prints and sending them to teams so that they can answer me. And with Adrian, you get that right to the tap knowledge. So I really wanted to endorse this comment because I think it's really important.
But how about we have a Monday session tavern kind of with me with kind of more serious stuff, not being as funny as not as hyped and energetic as Pedro always does. I mean, you're so much younger than me, right? Somebody, I think it was Prince Paradox, guessed my real age. So I feel like I'm old, right? But so you're like the young and dynamic guy, right? Also 33, obviously super young. Um, you could have a hype and chill kind of session, right? Once a week, 1 hour of just pure bring it on. Let's have this, and you're much better suited for that than I would, right?
We'll consider it. And you know that I have my time also very packed, but I will consider it. Right now, we're considering the Friday Smash or Pass, where I'll bring a game. I still don't know what game it is, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll make something happen. Now let's go for that Twitchy Tides. I would love to see some poops if we have some.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so let's do that. I'll answer the question about negative stamina.
The Vera will show your talents. I would love to that our CTO, for instance, had a talent like spinning plates or something of the sort. It would be so funny.
Yeah, that's gonna make them incredibly happy. I should be holding up the sarcasm sign.
Hey
With it.
Stanley, come play some Sudoku over here.
So there was a suggestion. I don't know. I don't know who posted it here. To actually not allow runs like with negative stamina at all. I mean, back then we designed it like that for a reason. Now, if that gets exploited like crazy by people like Webby, right, we may put an end to this. If, for instance, if I'm really curious to see how much Webby you'll and how much negative stamina Webby will end up with, right? Maybe we'll see him at minus a million, whatever. If that really is a thing and that really offers a benefit, then we'll definitely have to look at whether we should put an end to this, right? So I can imagine the penalty to be progressive. The more you earn the minus, the more of a penalty you get, or that there's an actual hard cap, or whatever, right? We can consider that. So it's good that we're having this discussion. I find it quite fascinating that after we introduced stamina way back, right? It's been what, 10 seasons now, 8, 9, whatever, a lot of seasons. It's only been like you guys only started to do that negative stamina runs thing this season for real, or maybe last season. So I'm wondering still like whether it's worth it or not. So we'll see, right? We'll obviously have to watch the situation, but we definitely don't make these kinds of changes during a running season, right? So we may actually see towards the end of this season. So let's see whether we have any. Oh yeah, look, we have. There's one Mocha Twitcher is in with Rare Wombat. So there we go. We'll see some pooping, I hope. Do join the Twitchy Tides !! Wombat in the chat. Ideally, you have registered your fish before, because if you have, then we'll automatically get your wax account name.
I don't know if Nadu is still here. Nadu, can you just, given that we have multiple games with clans, which game were you speaking about? Just if you hear this or if you're still there, just let us know. I've sent that to the team, and that was the answer that they gave me. Is like, which game are you talking about?
Which? What?
It was the question of the leaderboard.
No, there was Dungeon Master. Was the clan leaderboard, wasn't it?
It's either Dungeon Master or it's Tab Monsters, because that also has a clan leaderboard.
Yeah, right.
Dungeon Master. Thank you. On it.
What's the problem with playing negative stamina? There's no problem. There's just some people are saying it's OP to actually run on negative stamina, right? And basically just do as many runs as you can, neglecting all of the penalties that you get from running on negative stamina. I kind of still think that if you, I mean, it probably depends on your speed boost, right? So maybe the maximum speed boost is so high now that that this can become dominant to actually run on negative stamina. But up until now, I would have thought that there can't be anything good in tripling your run times, right? But probably just depends on what your speed is. Um, People who think there's a problem here are not friends with math. Well, like I said, at some point, if because it's not progressive, right? So it doesn't matter how negative you are with stamina. You just keep running 5-minute runs as quickly as possible. You have a lot of speed boost. Maybe there's probably there is a way of doing the math. It's not even hard to do the math. So can I can we can even calculate that.
Thank you, Mortal Wombats. I've already forwarded the print of you saying that to the team as well. So that's 2 cases. Maybe some people have it happening as well. We got the team on it, and we'll get back to you guys as soon as we can.
Doesn't stamina reduction gear take the place of contribution token bonus boost gear? Would that need to be considered? Yes, it would. Um,
Oh, sorry.
okay. Well, then let's do this round of Twitchy Tides, right? With 58 players. That's not so bad. And then we'll call it a stream. We'll obviously do a raid. So you can already start looking for victims. Biscuit has a red wombat. That's great. It's not going to be, you're not going to be able to poop, but we might have incentives for this kind of, for using any type of wombat soon. Okay, we've got 60 players. That's awesome. Let's go.
Let's get ready to Twitch it
And run
time.
fast. So much of Twitter better go fast with your poop. Ah, no.
Holy but Jesus.
Much of Twitter died before they could actually poop.
Look at the amount of death and destruction. I feel like I'm on a Metallica song.
Metallica. Yeah, death destruction. Okay. Yeah, that's what's cool about Twitchy Tides, right? Because there's so many different things that you can do there. So
Wait,
hey,
but
Biscuit.
Biscuit lives.
That's awesome. Okay, so what are we gonna do? So Biscuit, congrats.
Biscuit won. Congrats.
The red wombat won. So the top 5 players, as always, get a promo box, an NFT. But I will send, even though we didn't see any pooping action, I will send $1 million worth to both Mocha Twitcher and Biscuit for playing with wombats. Okay. So the top 5 players get a prize anyway, and then both of you who have, even though we didn't see any pooping action.
I need to get me one of those.
You should. Okay. All right, and then on to the topic of rating. GG's, by the way. So it totally paid off, Biscuit, right? Playing with the
Mhm.
wombat.
It always pays off when you play with Wombat
The
because you play and you earn.
the
Sorry, a little bit of
drop is.
advertising.
I like your advertising. The drop is still open until when? Uh, yeah, another month and a half. So sometime in November, I believe. So 90% of all the wombat that you spend in there are getting burnt, right? So that's really cool. Um, do it, Pedro. Okay, so thanks a lot for this this stream. Thanks a lot for coming on. Who are we rating today?
Ooh. Any suggestions, guys? Who should we raid?
Yeah, because finding anyone in this is really difficult. Is that your kid?
Yes, it is.
Almost sounds like my kids.
Well, they have a specific tone. I apologize for the sound.
It seems like microphones are particularly sensitive to
Yes.
their screaming, right? So I see nothing in this. Oh, I see somebody playing. Oh, that's
Hey,
Spanish.
there's 5 minutes masters as well. I think he's on.
Okay, then we'll just so Quadrell's art seems to be live, but we'll rate 5 minute masters. All right, then. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for joining in, Pedro, with your energy and your spirit. So have fun with 5 minute masters, and see you next week.
See you guys either Friday or next week.
Bye
Ciao,
bye.
ciao.